Hey everybody, it's me Marquita. I am sitting here watching I don't belong here. I think that's the name of her channel. Hold on. Yeah, okay, so I don't belong here show. And I'm literally making this video because I was watching one of her videos. I want to say last week, maybe last weekend. But she was saying, or I don't remember how it came out, but it was said that Brian Albert Sr. That he, okay, I remember. It was saying that Brian Albert Sr. was in Boston Finest TV show. And it was showing him, and they were saying he was a Boston police sergeant. He, does boxing on his free time, and he's a veteran of Desert Storm. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute, rewind it. And so I called Gary in, and I said, Gary, how does Brian Albert have his hair? Like, yes, when you look at Brian Albert, yes, he is bald on top. But you could tell that's shaved bald and not him hair loss bald. And he has face hair. And I was like, I know two people, like, in real life, like, talk to them. And I can't remember the second man's name, but it was these two men that I knew, like, in my real life. I was like, maybe 8, maybe even 9, 7 to 9 in that age range. And I was like, them two didn't have any hair. And it wasn't like, oh, they got alopecia. It was like they said they went to Desert Storm, and whatever happened over there, that's what made them lose their hair. That's what made them lose their hair. Like, I remember, and I'm going to call him by the name that I knew. Like, I know his real name, only the first name. I wish I knew his last name, because I would love to see if he was Army, if he was Navy, or Navy is water. If he was Air Force, like, okay, so I'm only saying that because literally Samantha was saying that Brian Albert Sr. was military. He was Marines, water. And so, but he is a Desert Storm veteran, but Marine. And so I was like, okay. So the two men that I knew as a kid, I know one specifically, the man that I know, his name Ice. That's what his nickname was Ice. And I knew him because he dated one of my friend's mom. And one of the most sweetest men you can ever meet. But like, and I was telling Gary about that, because I'm like, you know, later in my years, in my 20s. I think I watched Powder, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Ice being silly. Like Ice he wasn't white. He was maybe like, I'm gonna say like 6'3", like tall, skinny, light-skinned black male, but he didn't have any hair, like no hair anywhere on his body. Well, I don't know up under his clothes because, like, okay. Anyways, but I remember, and one, it stood out to me because he's bald, and I know people can be bald, and he was showing pictures of him, like, growing up, and I remember, like, a picture of him, and he was like, yeah, this is me with my, you know, and there was a picture of him, and he had like a big old afro, and then it was like a picture of him, like, you know, it was a couple of pictures, but it's like one that I can remember of him, like he was dressed out in his army fatigues, and he had like a taper, you know, haircut, fade up. Anyways, so he had hair in the army. And so it wasn't like, okay, he lost his hair because of alopecia. And I remember him specifically saying that he was exposed to something, and that's what made him lose his hair. And I'm assuming, because I can't remember the other guy, like, for 100% to say this with my whole chest, but the other man that I knew, like that I have met, he also didn't have any hair anywhere. And I don't know if they served together. I don't know, like, I don't remember their relationship, like, as in, like, friends or anything. If they served together, if they served at different branches, and just coincidentally, you know, like, same Desert Storm, but different branches of the military. Like, I don't remember that, and I don't even remember what branch ICE was in. All I can say is, what I remember about him in my between 7 and 9-year-old brain, because I can't remember how old I was. All that stood out to me was he was really tall, he didn't have hair, he was light skinned, and he was a wonderful cook. And that's what he did in the Army. I'm going to say Army, but I'm just using that as a synonymous, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm just using that as a placeholder in the military. He was a cook, and he was a very, very good cook. And I remember every time he cooked, he wore like a hairnet, he wore a mask, like a face mask, and he wore gloves. But that was because, you know, he didn't want to drip any sweat of any kind in the food, because if his nose started running, he didn't have nose hair. If his head started sweating, or his face or whatever, he didn't have eyebrows, he didn't have any hair to catch the sweat. So I do remember when he cooked, he always wore like a hairnet to catch any sweat. He wore like the rubber gloves, so if his hands or arms start sweating, then it wouldn't like drip in the food. And then he wore a face mask that was over his mouth and his nose, in case like he starts sweating and his nose like sweat or anything irritates his nose, so it didn't drip because he didn't have nose hair. And I remember that. And so cut back, and so It was between 91, I do believe. It might even have been, it had to be 91 going on 92. I'm thinking the earliest because, I would have been 91, 92, or 90, 90 going into 91, I was in first grade. So 91 going into 92, I was in second grade. And I really don't think it was 93. Like, he wasn't active. Like, he got honorably discharged because of whatever he was exposed to. So he wasn't active service when I knew him. So I don't, so that brings that back to last week. And I was asking Gary, and Gary was like, oh, his brother-in-law was in this store. And like, when we looked at it, I was like, and he was like, oh, no, that would have been 2000. And I was like, no, because I knew the guy, I knew Ice when I was a kid, because he dated, my friend's mom. And he was like, it was up under Bush. Well, I mean, Gary was thinking Bush Jr. and not Bush Sr. So technically Gary wasn't wrong. And Afghanistan, that was in 2000 or 2001, up under Bush Jr. It did go by Desert something. I forgot what it was. But Desert Storm was 91 during Bush Sr. So it was the wrong Bush. Like, it was a Bush. It just wasn't, it wasn't up under the son. It was up under the daddy. But me and Gary, we looked at it because I was like, how does Brian Albert have face hair? And he was in Desert Storm. He's a Desert Storm veteran. And I'm like, how does he, what was that? And I tried looking it up, the reason why Ice and then that other man, why they didn't have hair. And but I couldn't find anything that they would have been exposed to that on Google. I couldn't find anything that said they was exposed to ... That's why they lost their hair. So I still don't know what it was that he was, or that they were exposed to, that they lost every hair on their body, that they couldn't grow hair, they just didn't have hair and they couldn't grow it, but it was after the service. But if Ice was on land and it was something that was environmental, as in the in the air, or not the air, because the air is everywhere, maybe in the dirt. I mean, I don't know, because I'm speaking for somebody that don't know any and everything about anything. I'm just trying to think why. Okay, Brian Albert, he don't have face hair unless he don't have hair on his head unless his eyebrows, his beard, mustache, unless that's fake. And I'm not saying that it's not fake. I mean, do you? Maybe it's everybody. Maybe I don't know. I'm just saying he has face hair, and if it was everybody that was in the service, that that did Desert Storm, and they all lost their body hair, and he's just like, look, I don't care about the hair on my head, but I need my eyebrows. And he got, like, glued on eyebrows and glued on beard. Like, okay, do you. Like, look how you want to look. I just want to make yes, because I didn't know which branch of the military that Brian Abbott was in. I just remember hearing, oh, he's a Desert Storm veteran. And I'm like, okay, so was Ice. And how does he have fake hair and Ice didn't? And I really wish I could remember the other man's name that was Ice's friend. But see, I never talked to anybody. So everything that I know as a kid wasn't because I asked any questions. It's what I heard. And when his friend came, and I remember because I was at my friend's house that day, and like they was talking, and he then brought out a photo album. And what? Huh? Okay. Okay. Is it any more case? Like, I'm having a painful day today. No, from my jaw all the way down to like, huh? I can't hear you. No, I'm still waiting. So, like, and they brought out the photo album, and they was looking at pictures, and I don't know if it was up, because like I said, I don't remember that man specifically. I just remember he was bald, he was shorter than Ice, and he was darker skinned. But like I don't remember much more about him. I just remember that he didn't have hair because he also lost it because of what they were exposed to in Desert Storm. But yeah.